You are now live with Dylan Kimberlin.
Hello everyone, my name is Dylan and welcome back to Discussions with Dylan. Currently sitting with two of the best players in the Australian Pickleball scene. Would you guys... Oh no, we're a little bit not sure about that. I definitely think so. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. So my name is Leona, and so outside of pickleball, I am a clinical psychologist. I work for the Queensland Government in a statewide transcultural mental health service as a workforce development and clinical educator. I know a lot of people probably don't know what I do for a day job, so there you go. That's me, and I started playing pickleball during lockdown in 2020. Yeah, so that was around April, May. So prior to that, I was pretty active, going to the gym a fair bit, and also playing badminton quite regularly, which is the background that I've had growing up, playing competitively, but not so much over the last probably 5 to 10 years, not as competitive, but still kept it up. And so when lockdown happened, all the gyms and badminton sessions were all closed, and our family introduced us to this game with a funny name, which we were a bit against initially, but we fell in love with it very quickly and have been playing since. And I think it's great because I was able to play while I was pregnant. So I found out I was pregnant about a month after I picked it up and played it up all the way till 36 weeks, I believe. I don't know if did you see me when I was 36 weeks? Yes, at Albion. So so I love that I was able to play throughout my pregnancy and beyond with the little one as well. So yeah.
I'm Thanh. I'm a physio. I also took this sport up when, because obviously Leona is my wife. We took this sport up together. I started playing literally just when my mum and uncle were like, "Oh, let's go play pickleball." My sister said, "Oh, just do it. It's pretty fun actually." I was like, "Okay, I'll come have a hit." And then I was like, "Oh, this is fun as." So then I started playing, and then I couldn't do any of my other sports. So I came from a background of doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and boxing and a bit of Muay Thai for about 6 years. And then I was like, oh, we couldn't do any contact sport during COVID. So I was like, all right, we'll just play this. It's outdoors. And then, we just got hooked. It was really fun. And we haven't really stopped playing since. I think we took about a 6-month break just when my daughter was born. But after that, I wasn't really into it again, but then me and Leona were like, Leona was like, oh, we should just have a hit and play again. And then I was like, oh, this is fun. And then we played a tournament. I was like, oh, we should just keep playing. Yeah. And it's just grown into like such a passionate thing where we can just play with anyone and my family's all into it. It's really good to see because my mum's even built a pickleball court in her own backyard. So now we can just go play whenever. Yeah. And it's just great.
You guys are very lucky. I think most of us would like to have our own courts at home. Definitely the envy of the area. Cool. So we have a bit of a running joke. So I've been covering these guys for quite a while now. Turns out I've been saying their last name wrong this whole time. Settle it once for all. How do I pronounce your last name? Huynh. There we go. And if you are watching any of the broadcasting going forward and I do say it wrong, please call me out. So, you did have a bit of a joke about...
Yeah, so when we were trying to find like a team name, especially when I was playing with my mum in the split age, and we was like, oh, what should we name our team name? And my older sister was like, oh, because our last name is pronounced Huynh, we should be called the Huynners.
Hashtag Huynners. Yeah. So that's a hashtag that we use when we medal now. So because Monica, so his older sister, plays with her mum in women's doubles as well. So which is really lovely to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And also, sorry, I forgot to mention, even though he's not a Huynh, so Vin his last name is Trung, but he is Tan's mum's younger brother. So I played with Vin recently at the Victorian Open split age category too. So it's just so wonderful to see that as a family we can partner each other, because both Vin and An did play badminton for quite some time, but I can tell you it's only been very few times that I've played with them on court, because the disparity in our skill level was just too great, and so and I was able to play with Tan, and I taught him how to play badminton many years ago when we were dating, but the skill level disparity was far too great, and so we did think about maybe doing entering a competition playing in the combined category, so where you can have an advanced player and like a C grade, they call it so like an intermediate or lower intermediate player. But we figured that that's going to be really rough, considering that being the female of the pair, generally the other pair would probably have a man who would be the advanced or open grade player with a weaker female. So we never actually entered a badminton competition, despite the fact that we played quite a few years together, just socially. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go. And that's actually a really good transition into our next point. So if you have played with your partner or significant other in a tournament, you are probably sitting there grinning ear to ear, because you know it can be challenging. Some partners, like myself with my partner Emily, we don't play tournaments together. You guys have been successful for a long time now, playing mixed, especially. Like, obviously you two playing together mixed. How do you do it? Like, do you have any words of wisdom for the viewers on getting through it? Like, no, it just works. It's
I just got to take more of the court. Like, there's a lot of.
I think playing mixed doubles together is like couples therapy, honestly. This is coming from a psychologist, honestly. I have threatened to divorce him on the pickleball court many times, but we had to reconcile and meet in the middle, and
I've learned a lot just from playing. Like, sometimes even if Leona's playing badly, me berating her saying that she's playing badly does not help. So I've just got to be better enough to just cover more of the court. And then sometimes if I'm playing badly and then I'm taking the blame out on her, like, it's just Leona has to hold me down and just reset me as well. Like, there's no, it's just how it is, because you're not gonna, in the end, the negativity on the court doesn't make you win.
Exactly.
No. And I am guilty of doing the same. So don't make it sound like you're the only one who is the one who berates the other one. I am guilty of that as well, and having attitude. So I need to clean up my act as well when I play with him. But honestly, he is the only person that I would speak so sometimes rudely to on the court, and I think that's just the nature of being a couple, right?
And it just depends on how competitive you are. Like, both Leona and I are super competitive, like, and that's in anything we do. Like, we could be playing like a PlayStation game, and even though we both never really played that much, we still don't want to lose to the other person. It's just we're just a super competitive couple, regardless of what we do, because we don't like losing to the other person. Like, I don't think I've ever swore at my wife playing a game, just playing a little PlayStation game. Some people outside might listen to this and being like, whoa, he's up. But then you hear Leona respond back. It's like just...
All of our friends, we've been together for 14 years. So we met in first year uni. So we've known each other for a very long time. We've been married for almost 4 years now. And Camila is now 2 and 2 months. So we've been through a lot together, and all of our close friends know that we can get quite heated, but in a what do you call it? In a
civil manner.
No, it's not even civil.
Doesn't sound civil.
It's like, you don't take it personally.
No, don't take it personally, yes. But I think externally, if some people don't know us, it can look a bit scary.
Like, words of advice to other players who play with their partner, like, it's just a game. Like, it's literally just a game. And even if you're playing a tournament, you know, where we're currently at, no one's earning any money. No one's giving up that day job for pickleball. If you win a medal, it's like worth $5. Like, who cares? Like the only glory is what it means to you, and really, it shouldn't really matter that much. Just have fun on the court, and just be appreciative of the fact that you get to play with your partner. Like, not many other people get to play a sport with their life partner, or just with their partner or girlfriend, or just as a couple in general. Like it's very hard to find your own, like to find a common thing that you can do together. So looking at it from that perspective, I think lately has made me much more appreciative, and just makes us a better player and team.
Yep, and I think that's really, really good advice, especially with, you mentioned sort of that it's fun. Like, I think anyone that goes to any of the Queensland tournaments, you mentioned Vin earlier, you immediately know where Vin and Anna are because they're so loud.
Yeah.
But it's a good...
It's the same laugh.
Yeah.
It runs in the family. They all have the same laugh.
It's a good loud because it's happy. Like, you're very positive, and you guys definitely, you cover that as well. So that's great. I'm sure, who knows, in future tournaments you might have random people coming up like, okay, look, my partner's doing this. Well, I'll leave that up.
I don't offer couples counselling. I'm not a couples therapist.
Just pickleball.
Because I'm a psychologist.
Yeah. No, right. So, we'll go forward into sort of playing as a couple now. So you guys, let's talk mixed. So obviously, you guys have been playing for quite a while now together, and you've been at the top echelon for quite a long time now. How do you find sort of the mixed scene here in Australia? And I won't get you guys to delve too deeply into strategies and things that you do, but you've been traveling domestically as well recently. Like, what's the general vibe for you both? You mentioned you didn't play any badminton tournaments together, but now you played a heap of pickleball tournaments together. Give us a general overview of mixed, in your opinion, here in Australia.
Well, I think currently where mixed is at, like me and Leona, we were fortunate enough to win gold at the most recent New South Wales State Open. So we're quite fortunate at that. But it really comes, where we're currently at, I think it really comes down to, and this is just props to Leona, I feel like most of the males, we're all kind of on like a similar level. So what mixed really does come down to who's got the strongest weaker player, which generally is, at this current stage, is the female. And I'm lucky that Leona is really quite a strong female.
Yep.
And that's what it is like playing mixed, because what's the key pickleball strategy is to hit to the weaker player, because they'll make the mistake, and keep the pressure on them. So really playing... Like, that strategy doesn't change for anyone, whether it's mixed or the doubles. Like, you just want to hit to the weaker player. And where we're currently at, it really just depends on how well that weaker player holds their ground. And that's how I feel like mixed is at currently.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I think I agree with Thanh being a lot of the males. It's very, very competitive in that sense. So generally, of course, the male plays a huge role in finishing the ball, or making sure they keep up with the aggression and keep up with that speed. And so it comes down to, who is the weakest player on the court, which is generally the woman, unfortunately. Anyway. And I think... some days. And I think the difference with playing as a couple is that I think we can hold each other on a very high standard sometimes. So, and I think that is, I wouldn't be afraid to admit that is the weak part of our game, is that when we become too critical of the other person. So I have these expectations that, he's taking his role, he should be doing everything perfect, he should be finishing every ball, or, I set it up for him, or I should be supporting him well enough, on the court so that he can come in and finish the ball. So I think that is something that we'll need to continue working on. And I think that's probably the biggest, I think the most challenging thing as a married couple, because we've played with other partners as well, not in a competition per se, but we in our mixed team event, was our first. In a previous mixed team event as well. Those were the only opportunities where we did get to compete with another partner, and I certainly noticed like those dynamics don't. That criticism and that frustration doesn't come up as often. So yeah, I think definitely as a couple, we need to work on that, continue to work on that.
Yeah, well, because that's what Sumi, like, I remember Sumi, I don't know if you've interviewed Sumi yet, but
No.
I remember Sumi telling us, like, when he plays me and Leona, he's like, he knows, his strategy to us is just to set up a point to make sure that we start an argument. And then once we start an argument, we're probably, like, on a bad state to...
And he's not wrong.
And he's not wrong. Like, you know, that's...
That's very true.
It's like,
very
it was
true.
like, he just set up so we try to argue. So that's probably, I think, our weakest link that we'd need to address. So... and just not let it affect us, but that's what it's like playing as a married couple.
But also I think from a tactical perspective, I personally, irregardless of who I play with as a male partner, even if it's another strong male partner, not Thanh, I do find that mixed doubles is not my strength in out of the events. I feel that women's doubles is my strength. That's just how I feel. I just understand the strategy and then the movement better. And that's not all surprising considering that was actually the same as how I felt in badminton. Yep. So in badminton mixed doubles, I did okay, but definitely my women's doubles was my strength and also singles. But I always found mixed doubles quite challenging, and it's interesting to see how I've also felt that way in pickleball. So I feel like I've had to be a lot more effortful in learning the strategy and the tactics for mixed doubles in this game, in addition to having to play with my life partner. But yeah, certainly I feel that we're improving. So I think both of us are definitely improving in terms of consistency. I think that was probably one of our downfalls.
I also think mainly just previous years when we played, we didn't really play very frequently too.
No,
it was very sporadic play. I was still
and it was all social play. We didn't really train.
We didn't ever train, and that was unfortunate. To actually get better, you'd actually have to drill and practice, and we never really practiced. We just have a hit every so often, and with me doing all my other martial arts, and it's very draining. I remember I was talking to Mike Newell, and I was just saying, man. He was like, "Oh, you've been playing a bit of pickleball recently, a bit more pickleball." And I'm like, "No, I only play pickleball when I'm injured from doing martial arts." It was that's the beauty of pickleball, right? It's very easy. It's much easier on the body, or doubles and mixed doubles anyway. Singles is still pretty tough, I think.
Yeah.
But that's how it is. I was always just playing at 80%, or with other little niggling injuries like a sore neck, sore shoulders, ankles, knees. That's just the nature of the sport history of where I come from. So
even physios can get injured, guys.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Well, that's the bit. I'm so fortunate being a physio because I've always just managed it and rehab and get it better.
So we've heavily covered mixed, and that's awesome feedback. I'm sure these guys will appreciate that. Let's talk gendered. So you mentioned you much prefer gendered doubles, Leona.
I just feel most comfortable with it. I can't really explain why.
Yep.
I think with maybe a lot of the viewers also feel the same. There might be certain disciplines where they feel more comfortable with, and same with partnerships, I suppose.
Yep.
I guess I in all honesty, in the open division comparative to the males, obviously the female division, there's not as much depth as the men, but I think that's where I came from as well with badminton. That was the same, which is unfortunate, but hopefully we're going to have more women into getting into pickleball, which is great to see. There's actually quite a lot of women playing. But I guess in terms of, I think the strategy for women's doubles, which again is funny because it's similar to my badminton. I was the person who was more the aggressive player, or the person who sort of covered the court a bit more. So if you kind of see it in that sense, it's a little bit similar to the male's role, traditionally male role in the mixed doubles, which is not fully, but being that type of player and seeing that play out in pickleball women's doubles, that's probably why I feel more comfortable. And then so when it comes to playing mixed doubles and having to be the sort of, not the reverse, but having to play more of that maybe defensive play or being able to support role, that's that stability there for the partner who is more aggressive. I have found that quite challenging. So I think that's why in women's doubles generally I try to have a partnership with someone whom I feel like I am able to execute more of the aggression, or to be able to cover
More
the
the
court a bit
dominant
more.
role.
But not dominant for 100% of the time, definitely not. But definitely being able to have more of those opportunities, that's all. Whereas in mixed, I feel like because Thanh is a very dominant and very aggressive player, just with his style, it is, and obviously with our opponents being very, having very strong men as well, it obviously makes sense strategically for him to take more of that role. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love men's doubles. I think it's super fun. The pace is high.
Yep.
It's really good when you play a very intense or high pressured game. It's really quite fun. Like in men's doubles, really pulls that out of you because there's just so many more shots. In singles, like you could have what's the longest rally in singles? Like maybe 20 hits or something, some dink rallies can go for over 100 hits, and that's just
especially in the women's, right? We could go on forever.
And that's the beauty of long rallies. It takes quite a lot of focus, and the one thing I probably don't like about doubles is that and that's proper strategy at pickleball, is when you get iced out, someone could have 50 ball, you could not hit a ball for 20 hits, and you just and then you suddenly lose that concentration. They hit the ball to you, and then you're you've lost it. They speed it up, or you you just lost it, and that's probably my least favorite thing.
Getting frozen out.
Frozen out, but
that's also the beauty of the game, that strategically we have to try and figure out how do we insert ourselves and help with this partnership rather than our partner being the one who's having to hold the fort, right?
And Talia and Joel did that to us beautifully at Vic Open.
Okay.
So that's when we unfortunately lost our first game, but we still ended up medaling as bronze. But
he's still chewing about it. You listening, Talia?
No, that's awesome to hear. And can you, obviously, the advanced cohort know what freezing out is?
Yeah.
Can you explain what is freezing out?
So freezing out essentially is you're picking a person to freeze out, meaning you do not let that person touch the ball whatsoever. You do not hit the ball to them at all, so that they have no contact or no contribution to the game.
Yep. That's pretty much straight up. And if you do tune into any of the broadcasts, you'll see this does happen quite a lot. I find mixed doubles probably happens a little bit more.
Yeah, of course.
I think, most definitely, because it's sort of the more obvious strategy, right? But that's across all sports if you look at other sports, right? So so that's why as the female, often even in mixed doubles badminton, this is across sports, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on the female as well, because we anticipate that we're going to be the ones who's probably going to be hitting the balls most of the time, and so it's almost I'm crap, I need to make sure that I'm consistent and that I'm solid, but also don't give away so much so that we get smashed. So my job is to actually try and turn that around, right? And so that's what I find most challenging. So to try and turn that around, so then my partner can be more involved, and so he doesn't get iced out, or the man doesn't get iced out. Yeah.
No, that's really good analysis. Thanks, guys, because I'm sure you've probably been in a situation where you are frozen out, and you're like, I'm not getting the ball, this sucks. That's exactly what it is. And there's a reason for it. So maybe take it as a compliment if it has happened to you. All right. We'll finish up with sort of, because you guys have been in it for a couple of years now, and you've seen, I guess, you've probably seen the advanced cohort sort of grow, especially here in South East Queensland. You've mentioned you've just gone interstate. You're now playing with an interstate player as well?
Yep. So Talia is an old friend of mine. So which is another thing that I love about pickleball. So I actually met Talia many years ago. We knew of each other because we played at national badminton tournaments. So she represented South Australia in some of the tournaments that I went to, and I represented Queensland. But it's such a big scene, so you can't be friends with everyone. But I knew her name. And we met each other again at nationals last year, and we remembered each other. And at that time, I needed a partner, a fill-in for one of the events, and I said, "Oh, Talia, why don't we just play?" And it was amazing. It was so much fun, and pickleball has brought us closer. So, and it just so happened that her style really matches mine as well. So we're really compatible. Even though we only see each other interstate, so we've only ever played together quite honestly, in a competition. We've never played socials together, really, never trained together. She lives in Adelaide. I live here in Brisbane. So it's just so wonderful that it just so happened that our styles really are compatible. And yeah, so she plays that support role, what we were just talking about, really, really well. So that's why I think, she's a very great player too, as a mixed doubles partner as well. Yeah, so
there you go. And
solid all round.
it's crazy to think, like way back, you mentioned playing at Albion when you were pregnant, like going from there to like now there's just tournaments every weekend and we're just flat stick.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any, like, how do you sort of, the growth of the sport since the lockdown to sort of now, and then where do you see the sport in like 5 years from now?
Well, when lockdown happened, I think we were just lucky to even have like the Queensland State Open in 2020, and then like that was only like the only one tournament for that year, I think, in 2020, and then there was just a few more in 2021.
I think maybe
then,
like some really small,
yeah,
ones, like
little
club ones,
like
because it's so uncertain then,
And then, but lately now it seems like there's at least a couple of tournaments every month, which I think is a good thing. It just shows that there's growth and there's players who actually want to play and compete. And I feel like the beauty of the sport is where you get a lot of like-minded people playing and trying to, like, battle it out. Like, it's just friendly competition. Obviously, there's no money involved, but hopefully within the next...
soon.
Oh, soon, anyway.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I think where we're currently at, where we need really, with all the amount of tournaments going on, is referees, and that just becomes a problem, because I think compared to, say, tennis, for example, the hardest thing about tennis following the rules, or even table tennis, is lines. Really, it's just like line calls. But I think specifically with pickleball, the kitchen is such a key factor in the sport. You don't know if someone steps into the non-volley zone, or the kitchen as we call it. But yeah, like, and that could be very impactful, like, and change the tide of the game. And because pickleball is such a momentum-based game, once you lose that momentum, it becomes very tough. Like, in the next 5 years, the sport will grow and be so popular, and the way the organisation is run, that we'll be able to have more players and referees contributing to helping contribute to the game and being able to referee.
Yeah. Definitely, I can see that there'll be more players, definitely.
And we can play over 35 plus.
By then. I also love the fact that the sport has always been quite diverse and inclusive. So it's wonderful to see that, there are mixed ability divisions. And I do love the fact that there are a large group of seniors playing, because we were talking about this earlier, how in Australia, the sporting scene in general has generally been focused on the younger folks, right? I mean, yes, obviously there are sports that seniors play, but it's not really covered in mainstream media. So it's great to see there's more of that. Diversity as well. So, being Asian Australian, and in a sport where it's predominantly a lot of Western or white Caucasian people playing, it's great to see that diversity. We're a pretty big family. You can't miss us.
We're all in Victoria.
Yeah, we've got
Brisbane.
Victoria, Queensland, and so it's great to see that diversity and that inclusiveness in terms of lots of families. You see lots of people coming to tournaments with their families, and it's not that the families are watching, the families are also playing, or they're competing together in the same division or in mixed split age divisions.
And that's what the beauty of the split age, like, I don't think there's many tournaments where you can actually play with your whether it be your life partner, or your mum and dad, or your brother and sister. There's really not, I don't know very many sports at all where you could do that. And I think that's one of the, I really hope in the future split age becomes really popular, because that's such a good avenue just to build inclusivity and just build relationships. It's such a good thing.
And even just in the short time that we've played, we're fortunate enough to get sponsorship from Gearbox as well. So the fact that, and I know that they're American and they're quite big over there, and so it's lovely to see that they recognize us, and not just us individually, but as a country, that pickleball is really growing. So we thank you, Gearbox, for your support. And they're really big believers in supporting the community and that inclusiveness, and they talk about Gearbox as a family. So I really love that aspect of it, and that really embodies what pickleball really what I think should be. And yeah, I guess in terms of as it's getting bigger and bigger, definitely from a systemic level, we need that support from PAA, just looking out for all of our players and organisers. It's exciting that there's lots of these tournaments happening, but I'm also well aware of the potential implications on organisers and venues and things like that. But also I think globally, it's great that now we're opening up Australia, and even just having international tournaments and getting international visitors coming in to compete or to play pickleball, like that's wonderful. I miss traveling too, so I would love to go to the US and would be packing our paddles in our bags if we were going to the US, for example. So
Yep.
Oh, fair enough. And what were you gonna?
I was gonna just say it's so good, but we acknowledge the fact that like tournament fatigue is a real thing, and especially for us, like the fact that there's so many tournaments, like both like Leona and I, we have a young daughter, and we're always going to be sleep deprived, and playing loads of tournaments, that's a real thing. So especially, and even seeing the seniors, seeing them, like there's like we said, like a tournament every 2 weeks or something like that, and we acknowledge like that's a real thing, and that's tough, but it's only really good for the sport, seeing that we're just at the stage where we haven't got 100% like a good number of players to fill all those tournaments just yet, but it's definitely going to grow, and it's only, in my opinion, it's only a good thing.
Yep. Yeah, the sports growth is nuts. I think you just look, even this year, we've already had a couple of months in, and the tournament numbers are steadily growing. So we've got state champs coming up, as well as the QPT events and nationals. Do you guys think you'll be going to nationals?
Yeah, we'll be heading to nationals in October.
Yeah,
it's nice. Get to spend some time in Sydney. Leona's got some relatives there, so it's always good to see people. We have relatives everywhere.
Yeah. So I think it would not surprise me if we breach the 500 mark very soon for players in tournaments. And I know there's a very scary thought in that. What do we do when we get past that? Like, because it's inevitable. You guys have said that there's more players. It's every day the sport's growing. You look over at the States, they have tournaments in the thousands. It's like...
Yeah, it's great. Like, it would be good because that means you'll actually have to qualify for tournaments. So that's the beauty of tournaments. Like, not anyone can just enter. Obviously, you still have to earn your place in open, because you won't get anywhere if you don't have the skill to be an open. But it's... the fact that there will actually be qualifying rounds. And that's where I hope to see as well when referees come, because even in the qualifying rounds, sometimes you see it in the pros, if the qualifying rounds is not a ref, someone could have missed out on, because if there was that crucial point again. And that's just where, like, you see it in the, like I said, in the US, if there's no referees, but sometimes that's just where we're at the moment. Hopefully we can learn from the mistakes that the US are making, and then
that's right,
fix that up here.
Certainly. I mean, if we want Australia to have pro players, we've already got a couple we know of who are playing in the States. But if we want to grow that, we, definitely need to have those foundations. And, me personally, it's very unlikely that I'll go pro, but I would love to be able to continue competing. So, really hope to see that we'll see more people who are wanting to take the game to the next level. It takes a lot of support from a higher level as well to be able to pursue that sort of dream. And even though me personally, I won't be pursuing that, I would love to see more younger upcoming players, or even the seniors, right? We've had quite a few seniors going over to the US and playing, but there needs to be that ongoing support and that exposure. And so that's what I would love to see.
Fair enough. We will call it there, I think. Thank you so much for having a yarn with me and sharing some amazing insight. We all see you guys on courts, but we don't know what goes on up here. So that's really, really good.
A lot of swearing.
Fair
Maybe
enough.
you.
Thankfully, we don't hear that. But Huynh.
Win.
Okay.
Because we're winners.
There
Yeah.
we are. Thank you so much. This is Dylan, and thank you very much to Thanh and Leona. We will see you guys on the court. Cheers.
See ya.